Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it's Friday, yeah. You know what? It's kind of weird doing that, but you know what? People want it, so happy days. It is Friday. Oh, the Bitcoin conference, huh? It's all looming, ladies and gentlemen. Before we even get into all of that, let's break down what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to start the live off, more importantly, and address what's been going on with the Federal Reserve's major inflation gauge. It's ticked up. So we're going to be looking into that very, very shortly and how that's going to impact the NASDAQ, the S&P, the big boy markets, okay? Then going into the live, we're going to talk about this Trump Bitcoin conference. Now, everyone's all pumped about that. We're actually going to dive into, realistically, why is Trump going to the Bitcoin conference? You got to think outside the box, ladies and gentlemen. Come on. You know, I can just tell you, yeah, Trump's going to be talking at the Bitcoin conference. Happy days. But there's something more to it. And I think you'll kind of understand what he's really trying to do. Once we've addressed that, we're going to break down Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and see what we can expect going into the weekend, of course, with this conference. And then I'm going to be taking a few questions towards the end of the live stream. If you have any coins or you want me to look at specific assets, or if you want to talk about anything regarding the hybrid system, fire away those questions and I'll get those addressed to the best of my ability. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are new to the live stream, welcome to Traders Reality. My name is Tino. Let's have a conversation, man. Here we go. All right, then. So, to get it all started off, and as investors or traders, the first thing you want to do is understand what's going on in the marketplace right now, okay? So, the market in principle is open, but we're waiting for the futures markets, which opens in the next 20 minutes or so, okay? Now, that's at 2:30 UK time, which is 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard. Now, we've just had the news come out, and it's shown us that the Fed's preferred inflation gauge rose at a mild pace in June. Going into the actual data itself, you can see it's coming at 0.2%. The last reading was 0.1%. Now, what we've got to take into consideration is what's that done to the actual stock market. So we start off with the bonds, and you can see the bonds are starting to work their way back up. The yields are actually coming down. But then when you go over to the NASDAQ and the S&P, you can see NASDAQ is currently forming this behavior. And given that NASDAQ has not stopped dropping over the last week, and the S&P, the pressure's there on the S&P as well. Look at it. It's just not stopped going down. It's kind of giving us the idea that what's really going on? I mean, they have corrected quite aggressively. And it leads me over to this. The smart money, dumb money confidence chart. This is important to help us understand where is the big money and what's it doing. Now, principally, this chart shows you the dark line right here is the S&P, okay? The blue line is smart money and the red line is dumb money. When the red line goes above the top line right here, so reading above 0.7, it would suggest that dumb money is buying as much of anything that they can. And you can see that anytime the red line peaks out, so you see it above that point here, we tend to see a little bit of a correction. See that peak out right here around the 4,472? That's around the 0.87 region. It then rolls over. So it's a good way to understand where dumb money is, okay? But then you want to be focusing on smart money, all right? So what you can see here is as the dark line is going down, smart money is all the way down here. So that tells us that smart money is buying as prices are going down. Then when you see smart money coming up, it's effectively smart money selling into retail because dumb money, retail, is buying because everyone is programmed to buy as prices are going up, okay? What we're seeing right now is smart money is heading in towards an extreme, but you can see price is actually starting to pull back. So that could be giving us the idea that the stock market and the NASDAQ and S&P and stocks overall are looking to correct to the downside. Now, when we go over to the calendar, it would only make sense that that could be a possibility that smart money is starting to buy up again. You only have to go into next week's data and you can see it's a bloodbath of data. Look at it, all red data. And this is what's interesting about it. The Bank of Japan when the Bank of Japan decides that it's going to start pumping liquidity into the economy, okay, that is naturally going to try and induce investors to buy Japanese bonds. But unfortunately, the FOMC statement happens afterwards. So I believe that the Bank of Japan is probably going to not really do too much at its conference, which is probably going to upset some investors in Japan, but they're pretty much waiting to see what the Federal Reserve is going to do. Because we've just had this reading that's come out at 0.2%, suggesting that inflation could be going up, that might be a little bit of a problem for us. Okay, quickly going over to justify that, we just go over to the euro itself, and you can see euro is trying to work its way up, but it's not really succeeding at doing that. Remember, when news is good for the dollar, euro in principle goes down. And when news is bad for the dollar, euro in principle goes up. But we've got this scenario where good news is bad news and bad news is good news. Now, we're all relying on the idea that the actual US economy is currently doing well against high inflation data, okay? And next week's data is going to pretty much tell us where we stand with it all. So make sure that you're keeping an eye out on this. I'll be keeping you guys aligned with it. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so you do not miss out on the largest live stream that we actually do on this channel, which is the FOMC press conference, okay? Now, something I want to talk about to you all in regards to the smart money, dumb money confidence chart to help us understand what the stock market is likely to be doing and how investors are effectively getting themselves ready for an event. Check this out. This chart right here is the equity hedging index. Now, this tells us where are equity firms hedging themselves. Now, to simplify this, when you see the blue line heading above this green line here, it would be that they're getting ready to effectively buy up assets and hedge themselves against an event. Because as this line goes to the green area, you can see that the asset, the SPX, is going down. Naturally, as it corrects, it then starts to work its way back up. Right now, we have got the asset, this line here is showing that it's at an extreme of mad optimism. So everyone is very optimistic right now. And you look at the price of the SPX at the top side right here, it's at its highs, which then married to the sentiment of this chart right here, it could be that the markets could be getting ready for a correction. And we haven't even had the Fed pivot just yet. That's what's crazy about this, okay? Now, when you've got this information right here, you then say to yourself, okay, where does it leave us with the NASDAQ and the S&P? My opinion, before we go into a bit of crypto, my opinion is this. The NASDAQ and the S&P are way above value. Stocks are so valuable right now that they need to be clawing that value back. I expect the NASDAQ and the S&P to continue this trend to the downside, and there may be an instance when we get towards next week that prices of assets, by Wednesday, we could see the NASDAQ and the S&P, or NASDAQ primarily, hitting back down towards that 18,000 region. And then if the Fed does give us the good news, then we see the NASDAQ try and make a recovery back up because they're leaving the vector candles behind. Now, let's get into some crypto discussions and work out what's been going on. Did anybody know about this? Expiry for the futures, 3.9 billion, all right, was set to expire today at 9 a.m. UK time. Well, it expired. Have we seen a reaction? Now, the logic says here that Bitcoin should have or could have hit 63,000. But as you go into the article itself, it does say that as long as Bitcoin can sustain the 65K region, then the idea is that Bitcoin is primed to continue to the upside. Okay, and you can see from here, Rect Capital, he published this area here and he says that Bitcoin is primed to continue to the upside because it's managed to hold on to the 65K zone itself. We go over to Bitcoin and we can then simply say, okay, what's Bitcoin doing right now? Well, you can see Bitcoin is doing very well and it's holding the 67,000 zone itself. Now, quite frankly, Bitcoin itself is holding out, in my opinion, because of what's going on with the futures data itself. There's lots of activity in the futures markets and investors are they're preparing themselves for this Trump conference that's due to hit the markets, which I'm going to be talking about very, very shortly. So make sure you stick around for that one, okay? Now, checking out with Ethereum, this is really important for Ethereum because everyone's looked at Ethereum and said, you know what, man, this is a waste of time. And a lot of you probably think that. Let me know what you think. I think Ethereum's lagging behavior for the start of this ETF has been pretty poor, okay? But I've always said that the second they release an ETF, there is always a sell-off. Let me back that up for a second. Look at this. Here we go. In front of you, we have got the ETH. Where is it? Let me get that up. Get rid of that. Sorry. Bring that up for you. Is it this one? No, it's this one. Here we go. Here is the ProShares ETH strategy. This is a synthetic ETF. That means it's not about buying the physical ETF. It's about buying an ETF that represents the change in price of Ethereum. Okay? Look what happens down here from the second it actually starts. If I just go over to the daily chart, I might be able to show it to you. Here we go. If I move my head, you see that here? Right there. That's when it started. It corrected. So the day was on the 2nd of February, 2023. Yep, sorry, the 10th of February. No, the 10th of, bloody hell, it's backwards. It's the, what am I doing? Yeah, October the 2nd, 2023. Okay? It corrects all the way down to around the 13th. So for 2 weeks, it's correcting. Then it makes this run up to the upside. Okay? So then when we go back into it all, this article is suggesting that Ethereum is probably primed for a rally to the upside. Now, when we go back to the idea of what's going on with this conference, naturally the conference is going to bring a lot of volatility, okay? But you can see that Ethereum has just been basing out. It's not been doing anything. And it is consistent. Like I've said before, I think that Bitcoin is the leading indicator. And Ethereum is following what Bitcoin is doing. And even though the ETF inflows for Ethereum in the first day were $1 billion, it's nothing compared to Bitcoin. And Bitcoin really did move. But again, Bitcoin is the main coin. It's the number one coin, which then leads us to ask the next question. Now that we've got a Bitcoin ETF, an Ethereum ETF, when are we going to get a Solana one or an XRP one? This is what's on people's minds. They're wondering, when will Solana and XRP have their heyday? Well, you've got Solana, and the problem with Solana that BlackRock is suggesting here, it's saying that BlackRock's head of digital assets remains cautious, citing market maturity, liquidity, and regulatory hurdles as key challenges. Well, we can't really say that about XRP, can we? Because XRP has only got this court case, which pretty much, once it's done and dusted, XRP can go back to being a normal coin, all right? Liquidity is there for XRP. Now, for Solana, maybe it's light on a little bit of liquidity. Probably we need a little bit more activity on the Solana chain. And that's why you're hearing a lot about people getting into bed with Solana-based companies. And of course, with that being said, you then think to yourself, hold on a second. Well, how can Solana not be an ETF? Like, surely there's volume in Solana. But the next article really puts it into perspective. Look at this. Solana to $1,000. Do you think that it's possible for a Solana to achieve $1,000 a coin? Well, basic maths would say that for Solana to become $1,000 per coin, it would be around a $400 billion market cap. Is that something that could be sustained? We go over to Solana itself. Look at Solana. How does Solana move? Well, Solana moves very, very well, and its all-time high being that it's the $260 mark. I'd say it's achieved 20% of that. Tell me why they couldn't achieve a $400 billion market cap, given that with all this real-world asset story and, of course, all the progression that's happening in cryptocurrency with JP Morgan and trying to buy out Riot platforms, there's a lot of activity happening in terms of companies wanting other crypto companies, all right? They are expecting that the crypto market cap could effectively end up going to the $8 trillion range, which leads me into now the story of Trump and the Bitcoin conference. Check this out, ladies and gentlemen. Trump's going to be having a conversation at the Bitcoin conference, okay? Now, it is a 3-day event, and Trump is scheduled, you might want to timestamp this one. Trump is scheduled to speak at the conference on the last day for 30 minutes. So on the 27th of July for 30 minutes to bring the conference to a close. Just before we continue, have you seen the cost? $700 and $21,000, all right? But when you think about it, you get a 21% discount if they purchase them with Bitcoin. So you can see how just the purchasing is going to encourage people to want to pick up Bitcoin. So we're probably going to see lots of activity going into the event. Maybe we saw people buying these tickets a long time ago. Who knows? But there's going to be activity when they actually do hold this conference. Now, this is what people are speculating. Okay, we go into the article and it says, nobody wants to short Bitcoin into the weekend. And that's 10x Research CEO Marcus Thelen wrote in the 25th of July. We go down and it says here, futures traders are positioned heavily skewed towards long positions. And even a slight retrace back to 65,000 will put $1 billion worth of long positions at risk. Go and take a look at the liquidation points for the longs. And you can see that we do have quite a few long liquidations here, but we've got a handsome amount of short liquidations all the way up here, okay? Now, it's not the conference just yet. This is all now speculation, okay? We need to hear what Trump has to say. And the article does go on to say that there is the talk about Bitcoin being a strategic reserve currency. That's what's going on, okay? That's the main thing, which leads me into this. Look at this. What is going on with this? Why is he there? Go away. Anyways, how the US could leverage Bitcoin as a trump card against China. This is what I think is actually going on. China's economy is already taking a smack. And I would guess that Trump right now is going to try and get back, stick it to China, basically. The article goes on to say the following thing here. In Truth Social post last month, Trump warned of a danger of letting China and Russia dominate the digital asset economy. What did we say yesterday, ladies and gentlemen? In last night's live stream, we spoke about Russia trying to legitimize mining and crypto overall in Russia. And it's in Duma. They've legalized it, and you can now mine cryptocurrency in Russia, and you can use it for payments as well. So Russia's already trying to step into the game of cryptocurrency, all right? It says here that Trump said, we want all the remaining Bitcoin to be made in the USA. He expanded on these comments in an interview with Bloomberg last week, warning of the consequences the United States would suffer if it failed to win the new race for Bitcoin hegemony. Can't even say that word. If we don't do it, China's going to pick it up. And I don't want to be responsible for allowing another country to take over this sphere. It's to stick it to China, because most of the cryptocurrency is being mined in China, in principle. Okay? So Trump wants to bring it all over here. China's having a hard time already with the tariffs. And then, of course, the semiconductor business as well. That's where I think China's just going to go crazy on Taiwan. But the best way to really hurt a country is to hurt its economy. That's the only way you can do it. And the US, in my opinion, is the country in the world that's all about economical imperialism, which means who can do it bigger and better and how much more can we make? We're the ones that do the best. Okay, that's pretty much what the US is. And that's what I think Trump is using with cryptocurrency. He's going to use cryptocurrency as leverage to really, and he's going to push it. And the only way that he can push it, because he's a household name in the United States, whether you like him or not, people see Trump talking about Bitcoin, it's going to go crazy. And that's what people are preparing for right now. Okay? But I will give you a little bit of a warning, guys. The actual conference can be streamed on Rumble. Okay? But there's this new scam coming out where fake conferencing software targeting crypto assets, okay? So just be careful. If you are clicking or on your phone and you see an advert or something that says, watch the Trump conference here, okay? Watch it free here. You sign up for it beforehand, and then they use your data and they try and get into your phone or your computer where you've got your cryptocurrency, even though it should be all on cold wallets. Like, where's my cold wallet? I don't even know where it is. But, you know, just be careful of this, because they're getting you to download certain apps which have got malicious code behind it, and they could just end up taking your crypto. Pay whatever it is to watch it, okay? If it's streamed free anywhere, make sure it's on a major platform, all right? But if you can get access to it for free on some dodgy app because you saw an ad on your phone, then you're asking for trouble, all right? There's a little saying, you pay cheap, you pay twice. You buy once, you buy right. That's all it is. Pay whatever it is, all right? Now, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into price action right now. We've got still about 5 more minutes until the market actually opens. Let's have a look at what's going on across the board. Just quickly looking at Bitcoin. At this point right now, guys, let's just take some questions on the hybrid system. Has anybody Anybody got any questions, or is there anything that you want me to talk about for a few minutes whilst we look at where Bitcoin is right now? We've got the 67,000 zone itself. Going into the 1 hour time frame, you can see it's slowly trickling upwards, but the markets are due to open very, very shortly. Bitcoin is at its range daily high. It hasn't taken out the high of it hasn't taken out the Asian session high. Let's just quickly go over to BTCC for a second to see. Oh, yeah, if you heard about this, Ferrari accepting Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, that was a long time ago, but all of a sudden it's now coming up again. Okay, so nothing's happening there. Let's just have a look at the volume on BTCC. Let's go back into there. No, not that one. Let's go back into here. Happy day. Oh, basically BTCC, you get a deposit if you sign up with BTCC. That's not what I wanted to say, but you get a bonus when you do sign up with these guys. This is our preferred exchange. Let's go back into that. Okay, here we go. Right, so the markets. Bloody hell, what are you doing? All right, and so futures. Okay, so looking at this, you see the highest volume right now is in CHZ. Okay, so that's quite a decent volume. XRP's coming up there with the 24-hour biggest price change. Chills is doing okay. It's going into the other marketplaces as well, where you can trade NASDAQ and S&P. That's NASDAQ right there. 350 billion trading volume right there. SPX, we've got gold, some activity happening on gold. I mean, look at gold's volume on here, okay? And then you go look at Bitcoin's volume, okay? Hot all. Yeah, Bitcoin's volume is getting closer and closer to gold's, you know? I mean, if Bitcoin were to get the same volume as tech NASDAQ, bloody hell, man, you are laughing your way to the bank with Bitcoin. That's when we would generally see some big movements in Bitcoin. Okay, now that the market is open, ladies and gentlemen, just quickly having a look here. I've got the questions. Let's just flip over to that. Hold on. How do you pair the hybrid system with TPOS on volume profile? That would be, I'm not sure about that. Where can I learn this hybrid system? Okay, Mike. Where can you learn the hybrid system? You can learn the hybrid system on the Traders Reality website, ladies and gentlemen. There's a free course. Take the free course. Go to coursesontradersreality.com. This is the platinum trade setups that we do, 5 trade setups every single day. This was last night when we were projecting Ethereum to make a move to the upside, and Bitcoin and Solana. We effectively saw the success of them going back into the vector candle region, where you go over to Ethereum and you can see that right there. She did the move up in Asia last night right there. But if you are completely new to the system itself, just go and check out the courses. And the courses that you want to look at are the free one right here, which is the hybrid system. This one right here. Take this free course. It's only an hour long, and you will get to learn about everything that I talk about with relation to the hybrid system. All right. It's got the modules right here. You've got PDFs, everything, market makers, patterns, the moving averages, and the psychological levels, which are these ranges right here, and the importance of them, because we're going into the weekend and these are going to be reforming again. And if you notice that Bitcoin has moved from the psychological levels down and then made the recovery back up again. So Bitcoin, in my opinion, is at a very important point right now. And now that the market is open, let's just quickly go and have a look at the NASDAQ for a second. NASDAQ is coming back down again. Just be very mindful, because Bitcoin did this behavior yesterday. NASDAQ started to move up. Bitcoin was slowing down. Then it aggressively moved down. Bitcoin then aggressively moved down. But then Bitcoin managed to make a recovery back up. So just be very careful with it. You can see what's going on in the New York session here. They came down and then they instantly reversed it. All right. So all I'm saying to you all, guys, is when you do go into the weekend, just take into consideration that, yes, the hype behind Trump and this Bitcoin conference, that's not going to happen until the 27th, which is tomorrow. And the time-wise, it's the last 30 minutes of the conference. Okay. So that's when Trump's going to be speaking. I would say that having any positions now going into the conference, you are then subject to volatility. That means it could shoot up, it could shoot down, get people committed. They could sweep the liquidation points all the way up here and then bring price back down and send it down for the next 12 to 15 hours before the conference comes into play. And then Trump says, yes, we're going to make Bitcoin a strategic reserve currency. And then Bitcoin will surge and go absolutely crazy. That's what you would assume. Is it going to be a sell the news event? Well, when was the last time a president that was running for presidency spoke at the Bitcoin conference? It's not an event that has ever happened. Could you imagine Joe Biden speaking at the Bitcoin conference? It just wouldn't happen, okay? But Trump's making the statement, and as I said before, this right here is the real motive, to stop China from getting hold of all the Bitcoin. So in essence, Trump's saying to everyone, buy up as much of it as you can. But we know how the market works. We know the market is a bit tricky. This is the last wave of all this buying that's been happening over here. They are now selling the Bitcoin. Remember that. And for anybody that is new and is a little bit confused about the way this chart works, to simplify it for you, a bid is what someone is prepared to buy at. And in order for someone to buy, there has to be someone that has to sell. So when you see prices going down, people are selling. And in order for those people to sell, a bid order has to be picked up. Okay, so a buy order. That's why it's represented as green. Then when you look at the actual offers here, these are sell orders. So in order for someone to sell, there has to be someone on the other side of it to buy. All right? So you can see the selling happens when prices are rising. And it can be confusing, but when you're focusing on the bids and the offers, you then tend to get an understanding of how assets can really move. So when you do see Bitcoin aggressively dropping to the downside, you're not really too concerned about it because you know people are buying it as it's going lower. Okay? Cool. He will never commit to making a base currency pair. Let's have a look. A base currency prior to be president. Okay. What else? What other questions? Sorry for unclear. I'm interested in looking for confluences between time price opportunities and single prints and vector imbalances. Okay, so with that, in that respect, when you're looking for the hybrid system, look, in order to, before you start adding things to the hybrid system, your best bet is to understand the hybrid system, all right? So that when you can then take whatever other aspects of trading that you want to incorporate into it, you have a solid understanding of the hybrid, okay? So a vector candle tells you what? It tells you that there is volume above average. There is activity. There's movement. The only people that can really manipulate price in that way is the market maker, the liquidity provider, or when they run for the stops. When you notice that activity, you then register it and see it on the chart by a red or a green vector candle. You are then effectively saying, okay, this is where I need to pay attention. That's why when you do go back in the charts and you see Bitcoin making a move up, you see that red vector candle, that's the sort of thing that you'd be focusing. And then with time price opportunities and what have you and single candle prints, in principle, the vector candles will summarize all of that for you and keep your charts a little bit clean. I know I got lines all over the spot, but that's because I'm just talking about each and every single segment of this, which you'll learn on the free course, okay? But these candlesticks right here give you the clue as to what's actually happening. So by the principle of the bids, if you go back, you can see they've been bidding price lower. They've been buying. The candlestick is negative because retail has been selling, okay? And then they reverse it back up again. So the same thing happens over and over again, okay? Does that make sense for you? I've been watching you from day one. How much does the Platinum membership cost? That costs $99. Jesse Livermore, insight is great. Yeah, Jesse Livermore is the boy. He's the guy. You know, he was the great bear of Wall Street. What about the VIX? The volatility index. Yeah, the volatility index right now is still holding out. It's holding at the highs. You can see right now, look, it's just basing out, which could be giving us a clue that the stock market is due to drop. Okay, so as we see this going down, the stock market is going to go up. If we see this going up, the stock market is going to go down. Okay. Any other questions here? What do you think of ETH? Because I feel like nobody has talked about it. It's 2 times 2x ETF. Is that anywhere? Okay, with regards to that chart right there, my friend, I mean, look, it's very, very gappy. $10. When was this pumped out? Okay, like I said to you before, at the start of any ETF that comes into play, there's always going to be a little bit of a correction. In my opinion, don't buy the Ethereum ETF for at least another week or so, okay? Now, if we do see Ethereum pumping up because of the conference, okay, that's the conference. But you want to see the inflows going into Ethereum, okay? And we've already had $1 billion going into it already. So it looks like institutional investment and institutional investors are stepping into this, okay? So just take your time with it. Don't rush into it. Lots of gaps and what have you, but this is what happens when it's something new. Liquidity pumps in and out. People take profit and look, opened up at that price point and then it just collapsed, okay? So just take your time with it all. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for the gifts over there. I'm having a problem understanding the vector candles. Which candles are recovered and how to know that and which and what is left. Please help me understand this. Listen, the best way for you to utilize the hybrid system is look at where the vector candle has been created, okay? If you see a red vector candle, for example, if we see Bitcoin create a red vector candle at this current price point, okay, and they start selling it off, when you look at it, you say to yourself, oh my God, they're Bitcoin selling, it's going down, hypothetically, right? Go back into it. You look at the vector candle and you say, right, where was the last time I saw that sort of behavior? Well, look at this. There's a red vector candle. That's on the 3-hour time frame, okay? It's happened as prices have been moving up. So this could be another opportunity for them to buy more or bid more Bitcoin at the lows, at the highest point, with the intention to see price going back up again. Okay. And this is what you call a red candle, green candle formation. And they effectively continued up with that narrative, but they didn't follow through too well with it. Okay. Go again. Here is a red vector candle right here. It happened at the lows after a move lower. You've seen prices going down. You then see it happening here, but it can't break down. So then you will say to yourself, well, if they can't break down all the way down to this area and retest these zones, as long as price can sustain itself in this area, if I see a green or a blue vector candle coming into play, logic would say I'd expect price to go back into that point. We did the same principle yesterday on Ethereum and Solana and Bitcoin in the projections from last night. We wanted to see them go back into the vector candle recovery. There was that red vector candle on Ethereum over here. That's what we were looking for. And it managed to go back into it because the red vector candle was there. They managed to base out, chop, chop, chop. And then inside of this are vector candles. So you go to the 5-minute time frame and you can see going into Asia last night, the vector candles were coming into play. So look, vectors there, blue and green vectors. I always say it, always look at the blue and green vector candles at the lows to suggest price going higher. Okay? Uncle Tino, should I complete scalp trading with HS? Before platinum, so I don't feel newbie. Listen, if just do the free course first, okay, before you consider doing the platinum membership, so that you are aligned with the terms that we use, okay? And then once you've watched the live streams a little bit and you've watched a few of the lives as well, then only make that commitment if you truly are going to scalp. And you have to make the commitment that you want to scalp, all right? Because you don't want to get involved in something and be like, oh, I'm missing information, because there's all the information is in there in that scalping course. But I recommend that you do the free course first. Do that first. So then you have at least an understanding of the terms that I'm using in that course itself. All right? Cool. I'm going to be talking about that, Chris Fox. I'm going to be talking about that in a short moment. I'm purposely staying on the live because I'm waiting for something to happen. Okay. Any other questions? Is it realistic to say Bitcoin can go to 60K after this event? Well, it's not about whether it can go to 60K or not. Okay. It's what if it does beforehand? That's something that we've got to take into consideration. You can never say never with this, with Bitcoin. And right now, there's a lot of people building longs, playing longs with the hope that it's now we're getting ready for the Bitcoin conference. Look, it's all been laid out for us. Bitcoin's going to be mentioned at the Bitcoin. Well, obviously, Trump's going to be mentioning the Bitcoin, the story of Bitcoin at the conference. This is the biggest guy endorsing cryptocurrency. There ain't no one out there that has endorsed Bitcoin or crypto as big as Trump. Even though he's not the president yet, it looks like he's going in that direction. He's effectively trying to get all the guys in crypto to vote. Whether that works or not is a different story, but we can benefit from it because it's naturally going to be pumping Bitcoin, okay? By the principle of liquidations, there's a lot of guys right now that are shorting Bitcoin. That liquidity is close by. But the same token, there's more guys going in and buying Bitcoin in preparation for this event. And the event hasn't happened just yet. So we already know that he wants to make it a strategic reserve coin. We already know that now he wants to make sure that China doesn't get involved with crypto and doesn't take over crypto. So we need to speed up the process and make sure everyone can mine Bitcoin and do all of the good stuff in the USA. But the problem is, miners ain't even mining Bitcoin. They're renting out the rigs to AI companies. So it's like, okay, well, what gives? You know? Will ETH go to 10K because of the ETF? Again, it's one of those... All right, so Bitcoin ETF. Bitcoin hit its all-time high. Bitcoin swept the all-time high, makes a new all-time high, and then reverses. That's the effect of the ETF. Now we're seeing a lot of activity in the ETF because they're picking it all up. Now, if Bitcoin is primed to go further and beyond the ETF high, then Ethereum given that it hasn't really had that much interest, it's too early to say it's going to go to 10K. I'm going to be realistic with you. 10K Ethereum right now, it's just something that I don't really want to be paying attention to. Not because I'm saying it won't. What I'm saying is we haven't got the reason to believe it can even get to the all-time high just yet. Has it even been doing that yet? Okay? But the more activity we see in the ETF for Ethereum, the more adoption that's coming into play, naturally Ethereum is going to go up because this is a physical ETF. They need to buy the Ethereum, okay? And then that's where it gets interesting from there. My realistic price prediction for Ethereum would be about 6.5, 7. That's the realistic. 10K, I mean, that's a little bit, I don't know, it's a bit of a wild scream. That's like saying XRP to $10. And I'm a holder of XRP. Simple as. You know? Tina, if you're a complete beginner but have access to all the information about the hybrid, what would you do first in terms of practicing to learn it? Okay. The first thing I would do, if I was a complete beginner to the hybrid system, the first thing is I would pick my time frame. Okay. Now, the time frame would be only suited to my nature as a trader. Am I a swing trader? Right. 1 hour time frame, 4 hour time frame between those two. Okay. If you are a swing trader, it's work off the 1 hour time frame. If you're a scalper, start with the 5-minute time frame. Okay. And then as you get confident on the 5-minute time frame, use the 1-minute time frame to understand how the vectors could be developing within the 5-minute charts. Okay. But here's a little exercise for you. Go back in the charts. Let's start off with, let's say you're a scalper. Let's start with the 5-minute time frame, okay, on Ethereum. You can do the same on Tesla. You can do the same on NASDAQ. You can do the same on Euro. You can do it anywhere you want, okay? But let's just do it for Ethereum for 5 minutes, all right? So, Ethereum. Your job is to go back in the charts, and for every red vector candle that you see like this, take a couple of lines, or do this. Draw this box. Take a box, draw it until it matches up to a point where it recovers it, okay? Where it recovers, okay? Now, take a screenshot of that, study it. Study what happened before that when they stopped going down. Study what happened as they were working their way back up. Train your eyes to recognize that when you see a big red vector candle in your head, you're already thinking that there's a possibility that they're going to make a move back towards it. If you see the red vector candle appearing at the highs, then it's not likely, it's probably going to get recovered, but you'll find that as you do this exercise, you will find that they recover them pretty quick when they're appearing at the highs. Look at this. Red vector candle comes down again. They instantly recover it. So then you get a line, draw your boxes, match them across, and study that price action. Because I promise you, you're going to see the same thing. That's the promise with the hybrid system. You will see exactly the same thing happening over and over again. Do the same thing for green vector candles. Now, I did this for the euro and for the dollar yen. But I went back and looked at 1970. I went from data in 1970 and I went all the way straight up towards, when was it? About 2015, 16. I went all that way. I studied everything. All right. I went back. I did it for the 1-minute time frame, did it for the 5-minute time frame, did it for the 1 hour. I did it for the 4 hour. I did pretty much every time frame. And I trained my eyes to understand, okay, when I see green vector candles like this, there's a possibility they're going to come back into it. What do I need to see happening? Well, I need to see happening some stop and volume candles coming into play. And then I take screenshots of it. So then I will take a screenshot of this and then say to myself, right, okay, print that off, put that on my wall, put it into an Excel sheet. I've got that in the Discord. So that's available in the Discord. It's free. You can go and access it of the patterns that I was pulling out before when I was learning the hybrid system. And then I will train my eyes so that when I next see this sort of thing, which I know I'm going to see it again, because they always do the same thing over and over again, we're just trying to work out when will they start to do it. I'll then say to myself, okay, that's potential shorting opportunity. Deviations away from the moving average, vector candles coming back into play, happy days. That's the only way I can do it. Okay? What else we got? Any other questions? Tina, what altcoins do you own? Do you have an opinion on tier? What altcoins do I have? Well, I have the greatest altcoin that is known to mankind, which is, of course, XRP. I do own XRP, and I've got several bets on XRP that if it does hit... So look what XRP's done. Here is a classic example. Red vector candle like this on XRP. So if you've done it historically, gone back, and you've now come to the chart and said, right, look, I can see now that based on history's evidence. I know that they're going to try and recover this candle at some point. So now I need to start paying attention to this range. I've got to pay attention to it because I'm anticipating they're going to try and come back into it. And if you use too much leverage and you just simply go long from this point here, you're going to get shaken out and then you're going to say it doesn't work. But then you'll come back to the charts after you've been liquidated, you'll see it's gone back to it. And all you needed to do was just take off a little bit of leverage. Again, if you use BTCC, that's got 225x leverage. Be careful with leverage, all right? They got lots of bells and whistles in this. No VPN required if you're from the States, or KYC is necessary. So if you are from the States, you only need to deposit crypto and you don't need KYC. If you use fiat, you will be required to do KYC. You're welcome to it, but you will be required to use KYC if you use fiat. With crypto, you don't. You just transfer it over, and they've been around for 13 years, so they kind of know the game about cryptocurrency itself, okay? Everything you need is in the description of the live stream, okay? Cool. Anything else? How do you determine if a vector high will get a retrace before moving down or move straight down, leaving it behind, vice versa for vectors at lows? Ideally, when you're looking for vector candles to get recovered, if you see vector candles appearing after a significant move to the upside, it could be that the move to the upside and it's left vector candles behind. That red vector that appears at the top side of the move could be the start of the move to the downside, okay? You would have to wait to see how that candlestick gets recovered. And if it does get recovered well, and then they reject that zone, they're starting the sell program, which is to mark prices lower, hit the long liquidations, and then make everyone pay the price, okay? Likewise, when it's down to the lows, you've seen move to the downside, you're anticipating that a red vector candle is going to get recovered. That could be followed with a green vector candle. You're waiting for the green and blue vectors to appear at the lows of the move. But at the highs of the move, this is where it gets a bit tricky. But again, practice will allow you to see that. If you see green vectors appearing at the top of a move and they're closing strong, that's a climatic move. That could be a trap, okay? And then you see the vectors will get recovered and they could follow on with a red vector. If you go back and watch the live streams, there have been instances where I've said you're looking for a red vector candle to appear at a specific point at the highs to suggest that they're getting ready to break down. That's one of the strategies. The first vector candle above or below the 50 EMA. Above the 50 EMA will be a red vector candle. Below the 50 EMA will be a green vector candle. So below 50 EMA, green vector candle would have to break above the 50 EMA. Above the 50 EMA, a red vector candle would have to break and go down into it. Okay, hope that makes sense. Yes, that's no problem with that, layman's. You can. You don't need KYC with BTCC. You don't. If you are depositing with crypto. There's an AMA with no, it's been closed actually, but Eric, the guy from the exchange, he's in our Discord. At him, and he'll be able to answer some of your questions, okay? Bitcoin forming the green vector candle. Bitcoin's making a nice move up, yep. It's formed the vector candle. It's now recovered that vector candle. It's swept the Asian session. That's where it gets interesting. Okay, then. What are your favorite patterns in the hybrid? 2 more questions and I'll call it a day for you all, guys. What are your favorite patterns in the hybrid system? M's, W's, is there anything else? To be frank, guys, if you're going to be trading the hybrid system, all right, you want to spend time looking at how fast the candlesticks move, because when candlesticks move fast, and what I mean by fast, that means how much ground are they covering? How quick are they covering that ground within the candle's time frame? So a 1 minute time frame, you're always going to be seeing it moving fast. But sometimes when you pay attention to the 5 minute chart or the 50-minute chart, you can see price really moving fast and it's trying to gain ground. That speed is giving me clue that there could be movement preparing price to go even further than where it's going right now, okay? So I always focus on the speed of the candles, and then I start looking at the environment of where they could end up going towards, all right? That's my logic and what I look for. And I also look for the Asian sessions as well. When price hits the high above the Asian session high or the Asian session low, I look for those to sweep. And then just very shortly right now, I'm just going to update the Platinum members. I'm going to give them a setup on regards to what's going on with Bitcoin right now, and Ethereum, and Solana, Euro, gold, oil. Go through all those asset classes because it is Friday. The markets do have the time, well, they've got only till tonight to really finalize everything. And that's the legacy markets. That's Euro, NASDAQ, and S&P in the stock market. Crypto's going to keep on moving anyway because it doesn't close. But that's where my logic, I'm going to be discussing that very shortly. I'm just waiting for the market to do its thing. Any other questions? Tino, stock question. NASDAQ prediction for the day. Just looking at the way NASDAQ's behaving, it's already taken a bit of a slump to the downside. But just what you've got to be mindful of with NASDAQ, just quickly going into NASDAQ itself, you can see it's made the move up and it's given it back. So what I suggest you do with NASDAQ is you wait for the Brinks box to finish, okay? Because the daily open right there could be a problem for NASDAQ and they could finish the week pretty badly, given that the data has come out suggesting that the main gauge has gone up. So that's not good news, okay? And is the hybrid system indicator the main one? Yes, it is, my friend. Yes. When you search for it, just go to the Traders Reality website. When you go to the Traders Reality website, at the top, there is the info bit. Go to the info part, and then it just breaks it down for you, and you can follow it. Just literally click this here, and it takes you to TradingView to like the actual hybrid system indicator, and it presents itself right there. All right? Cool. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I bid you all farewell. I'll be tuning in with you all on Monday, so I won't be going live tonight, but just remember, more information on the hybrid system, go check out tradersreality.com. It's in the description, and of course, you want to go check out BTCC. That too is in the description. But more importantly, guys, if you're going to be trading from now going into the actual conference, just make sure you keep your exposure light. The idea is to stay in the game and not get shaken out just because you want to follow the gravy train and the hype. Don't use too much leverage, man. You're going to get smacked. Have yourselves a great day, gang. Mad love and respect. Peace.